Welcome to Living a Sustainable Dream, and in this short episode we're going to talk about why we decided to live off the grid. The two main reasons that we decided to live off grid was, one is the storms, and the second one was money.
So you want to talk about the storms first?
When we first got married, we bought our first home in a subdivision, and the subdivision was basically electricity and natural gas.
Right.
And when we had a winter storm hit, it knocked out our power. And my wife and I were sitting there huddling in a blanket together to keep warm because we had no source of heat. With the natural gas, you need electricity to fire up the furnace.
And we started looking around the whole neighborhood, and nobody had any alternative source of heat or power, really, that we knew of.
Right, and nobody had a generator.
Nope. No fireplaces, no wood stoves, nothing.
My first thought was, hey, no problem. We'll just make this house in the subdivision work.
And we'll get a
wood-burning stove.
Right.
And I went to a stove place in the area that we lived in, and the guy kind of looked at me with this kind of look of, are you crazy? Why would you want a wood stove? They're messy. You're
get a pellet.
You have insurance problems with your home. You should have a pellet stove. Well, pellet stoves are nice, but they also take electricity.
Right.
And if the electricity goes down with a wood stove, you can heat water.
Yep.
You can heat your home.
You could even cook little things on top, like in a pot or whatever. And we thought that would be an awesome solution. When
we moved to the Oregon coast for a while, we had a storm every year. It was usually the first or second week in December, and the power would be knocked out. Trees would be knocked down. We'd have hurricane force winds. One time the storm was so bad, caused us to be in a state of emergency. We had flooding. We had power outages from Astoria, Oregon, all the way to, I think it was Depot Bay is where it actually started to have electricity again. Every gas pump
was
out between Astoria and Depot Bay because there was no electricity to run the gas pumps.
Right.
So here
but in the home we had at the time.
Yeah, here we were in a home, learning from the previous house we had.
Right.
We bought a home with a fireplace and
a wood stove.
Right. And so we were able to heat our home and did just fine. We had a toasty home. We were able to cook our food, keep warm, heat water. But without electricity, we lived on a hill. And the city was in control of the water.
Right.
And without electricity at the pump station, no water would come to our home. You had to have electricity to get water.
Because being on the hill, they needed the pump to pump it up, specifically for our little area up there.
Mm-hmm. And so for 5 days, we would go without water. So we had our water buckets that we would put water in.
Right. So it kind of got our wheels thinking even a little bit more.
Need a source of water.
We thought, okay, we have the heat. Water would be good.
Yep. And even without electricity, we had candlelight and so forth. And that was not a big deal.
Right.
But heat is a huge thing you're going to need in a storm outage, especially in the wintertime.
Right. So during this time, too, as far as regarding money, the money situation, at the time, all our bills were going up. I mean, our electric bill was huge. We had a big house, not really an efficient way to heat it, except for the wood stove, which we could use. So our water bill was going up. Our garbage bill was pretty big. And then our insurance at that time started kind of climbing a little bit more. My husband's paycheck was staying the same, but everything else was going up. And so every year we would have to rebudget because we were now having less disposable income or whatever to pay our monthly bills. And so again, we just kind of were trying to look to the future, and we're thinking, the bills probably aren't going to go down. They're going to continue to go up. And what do we want to do for the future? Is there another solution? Are we in the best place possible? Are we living in an area that we can really afford? And our house being on the coast was also needing a lot of repair from all the salt water. So, all these things were kind of coming into play, and we're like, okay, is this the place where we really can retire? Can we be here forever? And we started thinking, well, maybe this isn't kind of where we want to park it or should park it for a long, long time. And so we started just kind of thinking, what could we do different? What could we, what type of lifestyle could we do that would be more sustainable for us, for our income, for the jobs that we had, for our careers and that kind of thing. And then we also started thinking too, as far as we wanted to grow some of our own food. We thought maybe that would be kind of Awesome. Well, on the coast, it's very difficult. For one, to grow food, you can, but we also were not in a. Our house was on a small lot.
On a
We
cliff.
Yeah. Okay. And we didn't have a lot of space for gardening. If we really want to start growing our own food, maybe we want to think about a different lifestyle. And so, as far as the power outages go, and then the economics and that kind of thing, I think gas was even going up at that time.
It hit, I think the gas hit
and this
at
was
that time.
before 2008.
Yeah, well, it was around that time because gas prices went up to $4.25 a gallon.
Right.
And we literally came to a screeching halt on our bills and so forth. Our disposable income at the month basically disappeared.
Yeah.
We had no savings,
Right.
no way to repair our house, keep
Right.
up with our house. And with the electric bill going up, taxes going up on the property,
Right. Our property taxes were high.
we were like, we're going to lose it. We're going
Right.
to lose our home due to all these increases and my check staying the same.
Right. And we felt our house owns us more than we own it. And we didn't really like that feel.
Right.
So we started brainstorming, and we knew at the time, because our house was on the coast, and the coast was a pretty popular place, that we could probably sell our home and we could make some money on it. And so it kind of started us thinking, well, if we want to move, where do we move to? And how do we want it? What type of home do we want when we move?
So by living off the grid, or even choosing to live off the grid, our main focus was, okay, we got storms. Okay, how are we going to manage those? Well, being off grid, we wouldn't have to worry about the grid anymore.
Right.
2, the money. If we don't have an electric bill, there's huge savings there.
Right.
But we're also looking at taxes. Where can we go to afford property
tax.
taxes?
Right.
And where could I have a job and actually have an income that would literally give us a little bit of spending cash to afford the next build or
Right.
Progress the house to the next level.
Right.
So if you're ever considering off-grid, if you're thinking about it,
Right.
you want to talk about what are your motivations. Are you thinking about the bills? Is it the storms that keep creeping up on you? Is
Right.
it your lifestyle, where you're at? What is it that makes you want to go off-grid? And you really have to really figure out that portion, because going off-grid was never an option to us before. It just became something that we started to work into, and I really believe that the storms were one issue, but we learned how to survive those. There's no
Right.
big deal. That's 5 days, and
Right.
I could have bought a backup generator and been fine and not had to live off grid.
Right.
But with the increase of the money
Yeah. The economy.
on the the economy was flat. We were not keeping up with the cost of living. That's what really pushed us over into, I think,
Yeah.
thinking about creating our own electricity, having our own water source, and not having those bills in our life anymore, and
Right,
being
and
in
if-
control of that.
Right. And if possible, we really thought if we didn't have a mortgage, that would be the topper. If we could find a place to live where we could build what we wanted to build outright, and then we wouldn't have a mortgage either every month. And we thought that would be awesome if that would happen too. So anyway.
Right, and that's what kind of led to the progression of living off grid for us. Being that you're probably watching this video, you're probably thinking about whether you want to live off grid or not. And so we're going to start doing a series on our off grid systems,
Right.
How to create your off grid systems, how to design it. To an extent, you can't really go and say, hey, this is how you do a off grid system, because each person's lifestyle is different,
Right.
as far as what they want to have in their off grid home.
Right. What type of amenities do you want in your home? And can you build a system, an off-grid system that will support what you want in your home?
Thanks for joining us. See you next time on the next episode.
Thank you.